So the sun is out at last, and that means one thing as far as I'm concerned, it's paste season. And now I'm no longer a sponsored angler with Sonia Baits, I can finally reveal the top secret recipe that you've all been dying to find out what it is. So hang around to find out what's in this tub. So you're going to want to know what's in this bowl. I believe this is like the ultimate paste recipe. Certainly as a starting point. You can add other bits to it if you want, but for me, this is my base, and then we'll like elaborate further on that. But what's actually in it? Well, like I say, I mentioned in the intro, no longer sponsored by Sonia Baits, so there's no more secrets. I don't have to be secretive about what I'm using anymore, so you'd be pleased to know. Good old Thatcher's is still my base mix. Now loads of people are like, oh, it's alright, you get it for free. Well look, the price tag's on it, I don't get it for free. This is what I use, and I'll continue to use it, even though I'm no longer with Sonia Baits. I'll continue to use it because I think that that is the best like paste base, if you like. It's just a nice fine fish meal ground bait. It works. I like the brown colour. I can add colours to it if I want to, which is something I do quite a lot. But for me, that is like the perfect paste mix, and I'll show you how I mix it in a bit. But if you get a bag of this, you're not going to get far wrong. There are a few things I do to tweak it, but if you just want to mix this straight out of the bag, you're just going to go fine. If you do it 1-to-1, 1 part water to 1 part crumb, you're going to get a great paste. So give this a go, it's really good. Now there's loads of other good ones on the market. Green Swim Stim is a legendary, it's probably the first one that we all started using ground bait wise as a paste. It's basically pure crushed pellets, so you can't go wrong with that. I've heard, but I've never tried it, Bait Tech Special G, the green one, or the gold one. Very good mixes. What you're looking for is a really fine ground bait with an actual fish meal content. A lot of the ground baits nowadays are pretty much pure crushed pellets, and they put a lot of expander in it. The expander opens up too quick. You need something that actually holds together as a paste, and that's where something like Thatcher's scores, because it's crushed pellets, like fish meal pellets, and it's got actual fish meal powder in it, not just crushed expanders, and they use other sorts like open pellets. This is actually a dense mix, so actually when you squeeze it in a ball, you'll know what I mean. If you mix ground bait, take crushed expander for instance, if you make a ball of that, you can almost feel it opening up in your hand. You can feel it getting bigger in your hand. It's because the particles want to go like this, whereas if you mix this up for the method, for example, and squeezed it into a ball, it'd go dink and stay as a ball. That is what you're looking for as a paste mix. So whether you use Thatcher's or not, it's up to you. I love this stuff, and I'll continue to buy it even though I'm no longer with Sonia Baits, because I think it's the best stuff. But like I said, there's a few things I do to make it even better. Now I'm just going to take a moment to interrupt the video. A whopping 72% of you guys watching haven't subscribed to my channel yet. Now it's completely free to do so, and I'm one of the very few anglers left on YouTube that does the whole library completely free. There's no membership section, there's no subscription service where you've got to pay for it or anything like that. All my content is totally free. So all I ask is that you give my channel a subscribe. It's completely free to do so, and it ensures that you never miss another video, and it ensures that more people get to see my videos in the long run too. So I hope you continue enjoying this video, but do me a favour, press that subscribe button. So the first ingredient that I put alongside my Thatcher's, and this is a real recent one, in fact only last year I really started doing this, is wheat gluten. Now I did a video up there last year fishing in the edge with like a long rigged hand, and I was using this, and it's become a really important part of my paste. I'm going to explain why. Now when I'm fishing in the margin, particularly in the margin, but it obviously matters out there, you need your paste to hang on the hook for as long as possible, while still retaining that super soft, wet consistency, because as you can see, you can actually see the water in my paste. It's wet, it's really wet. But what I like is my paste to stay as pretty much as a ball for as long as I can. So it's nice and wet so they can come and slurp it up easy. But I need it to hang around that hook for as long as possible. And what I was getting was my paste was actually opening up too fast and falling off the hook. And when you get loads of fish in the margins, knocking it off, you're just in and out pre-baiting all the time, rebaiting all the time, which was frustrating. Now we did the Pro Paste when I was with Sonia Baits. We did Pro Paste, which is really good. It's a sticky paste, really good. But I was like, for me to get, I'd have to get through 7 or 8 of those little bags in a match, because I use a lot of paste because I put great big pieces on. So I was like, there's got to be a better way than this. And I remembered back to my old days when you used to buy like Van der Nijn hydro paste. There was a few other ones, and you used to mix them up, and they'd go like stringy, like full of gluten. And I actually rang Mark Sawyer, who I knew was at Van der Nijn back in the day, and he used to do all the paste mixes. And he actually mentioned, he says, look, wheat gluten is what we used to use, or a product like wheat gluten. He's like, give it a try. It might be what you're looking for. And I started experimenting with it last summer, and I loved it. It totally transforms your paste. Now, the key is not to get carried away with it. I've done a bit here to show you. And look, it's like, there's probably just about the right amount in that. But if you put too much in, it goes like elastic. It's like, and it just clings around the hook too much. You know, you struggle to strike through it. It's all right if you want to swing out to fish, or maybe fish paste shallow or anything. But that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to create a situation where my paste holds together that fraction longer than normal, and the wheat gluten obviously holds it together that little bit longer, but I can still mix it super wet because I think that that's what the fish prefer picking up. So I'm going to show you how I do that. And there's one other final ingredient that, so we've got the wheat gluten, we've got the fatures, they're my two pretty much base mixes, and I just vary the amount of wheat gluten to the amount of fatures, but I'll show you that in a minute. But there's one other ingredient that I absolutely love, and that is red sensate. Now, the fact that it's sensate means nothing to me. It smells quite good, to be fair. It's quite pongy, so I don't think that does any harm at all. But this red dye is fantastic. It's probably the best one I've used, to be honest with you. It's really potent, and I found last year a lot. It was something that Zach Brown showed me years ago, and Pen Writing has since shown me. Changing the colour of your paste can really work, and I was a bit like, nah, natural's the way to go. I've had it here especially, like you'll get a lot of fish in the margins, and after a little while, changing the colour of the actual paste is really good. And I started experimenting with red paste last summer, and to be honest, it was miles better than the brown one, and particularly in the margins when I think that there's a lot of disturbance, the water's getting coloured up a lot when they come in to feed. And I started adding this to my paste, and as you can see, I actually carry 2 tubs of it around with me. So I've got my brown stuff and I've got my red stuff. And for me, that was a really good little additive. I've used lava rocks before, other red dyes, but to be honest, for convenience, this is really good. It comes in a nice little bottle, a few squirts of that in, and it turns it a lovely vivid red colour. So they're the 3 things, the top secret paste ingredients, if you like. Wheat gluten, Thatcher's, and that red sensate liquid. Like I say, it could be any other red dye, but I have found that this one is actually really good. Preparing the paste, there's a few little bits that you need. I think that having a couple of Tupperwares is really handy, especially if you are going to use this wheat gluten in your paste. It's really handy because it's better to mix it the night before, because the actual wheat gluten takes a little bit of time to sort of start activating. Don't get me wrong, you could do it in the morning, it'd be fine, but if you do it the day before, stick it in the fridge, I found you get a better result. And sometimes you'll put it in to start with, mix your paste up, and you think, there's not enough in that. Come back to it the next day, and there's quite a lot, and it is quite, you can see it. You pull it apart and you can see it. So do it the night before, and I just find that one of those, well, I take 2, one with my red, one with my brown, and just stick them in the fridge. Perfect. So get yourself a couple of Tupperwares. Now this is the paste angler's best friend. It is I believe it's a sink strainer from IKEA, but I found them in Aldi before, but certainly IKEA you can get them, and it's like a flour sieve. You can get obviously finer flour sieves, and if you can get a big one of them, even better, because the finer you can make your powder, the better. But this I found is fine. The reason is, even though this is a really fine ground bait, I like it as fine as possible. So let's run it through there. Now, I do a whole bag at a time, and I actually keep the powder. Obviously, I do this at home. I keep the powder in again, another Tupperware to keep it dry, obviously, between sessions. So do it in advance. I'll probably do a couple of bags at a time. Keep it in like smaller amounts, and I get through about 4 pints in a match, something like that, maybe 5 pints. So I tend to do it in like 2 pint batches. And if I have to throw a little bit away when I've mixed it up, then so be it. But if I do it in 2 pint batches, I can mix it up, like I say, the night before in these little tubs. I'm not wasting loads. If I was to just mix up a whole bag full, you're just asking for waste. So quickly run it through there. Now, one thing, obviously, when you do this, you are left with a load of pellety fish mealy shards. And I've seen loads of videos in the past, the sponsored anglers, going, save this for the summer. Put it in your ground bait in the summer. None of them do, they all chuck it in the grass. I actually do save it, because when you do as much sieving as I do throughout the summer, you end up with loads of it. And it's actually a really good margin mix. Because it's slightly coarser than normal ground bait, that is just pure pellet shards, but they swell up lovely when you mix them. So when you, like here, when I can get through 2 kilos of ground bait in the margins, you know, chuck them in your actual margin mix, and it's a great thing to do. So don't sling them away, they're really handy. And then what you're left with is lovely, fine, stinky, fish meal rich ground bait. And that is totally, you can see it, you can smell it, it's really strong, proper fish meal, not just crushed pellets. Beautiful ground bait that is. It's great ground bait anyway, but as a paste, I just think that that is about as good as you're gonna get. Beautiful stuff, and like I say, you can just use that on its own, mixed 1-to-1, and you won't go far wrong 1-to-1 with water. But you want to find out how we do this. Now, a few of you asked me how much to put in, and I was a bit coy with my answer, saying you have to go and find it out yourself. And it's not because I was being a bit of a knob and not telling you, it's because I don't know. I'd love to say I've done all the accurate measurements to find out how much to put in exactly, but I'm a bit of a rough and ready sort of guy, and I've just been doing it by eye almost. Less is more, and you can always add a little bit on the day of, and it takes about an hour to work in. But if you do it, get up in the morning, like I say, mix it the night before, check it in the morning, add a bit more before you leave. Would be my advice. But as a rough guide, let's do it as a rough guide. Get yourself a little measure, that's about 250 mils. And I reckon to get a nice, like that, so you can see it's in there, but it's not like one of those old school pastes that's like really horrible and stringy. I reckon, let's just use this bowl here. If we put one of them in, and then with the wheat gluten, half. I don't think we're going to be far off, so about half. So we've done a full one of the paste, half of one of them with the wheat gluten. Whiz it around. And the ground bait will go like a whitey colour. And if it's too white, which I actually think I might have put a fraction too much in there. See, it's a really pale colour now. I think there's a fraction too much gluten in that. So we'll just knock it back, we'll put a touch more of this in. A bit more factures. So we've probably got about 300 ml now of factures, and I think that that's going to be about right for what we're looking for. You see? Stinks, beautiful and fine. That lovely, gorgeous stuff. Now where am I going to put this? Let me put them back on there. Now when it comes to mixing your paste, water first. So we've got about 1.5 of these of powder. So we're going to put in 1.5 pots of water as a starting point. Now if I'm going to dye it red, I'll put my dye in the water before mixing it. Let's get that powder in there. So it's kind of 1-to-1. We'll just whiz it around. Get it nice. And the reason you put the water in first, it's just much easier to get a nice even mix. And I do my edge ground baits and everything like this. So you can see, it's absolutely dripping. But trust me, give it half an hour and that'll be a beautiful little smooth paste that we can use. That'll have them bit of wheat gluten in there and we'll be good to go. We'll have a beautiful little paste there off the back of that, and it'll go something like this. Now as you can see, that is like my main texture. So you need wet hand when you're fishing with paste. Always have a bowl of water on your side tray. Get in there, and it just makes picking it off easy. And you can see I haven't gone mad with the gluten. The gluten's it's in there holding the bait together, but it's not. I've not got that horrible like stringy texture. But as you can see, the water's actually on. You can see the water coming through the paste. It's really wet, and I will tweak it obviously as the day goes on. But I actually like my paste as wet as possible. I just think that the fish prefer to slurp it in, and once they get on that, it's just better. And that take a couple of minutes to break down because that gluten's holding it together. More than enough time to get a bite. So that's it. So that's the mixing process. Simple as that. Get yourself one of these, a sieve. Save the shards for your margin mixes. Get yourself some red dye. Get yourself some Tupperwares to put them in so you can bang it in the fridge. A couple of measuring pots, obviously, so you can be consistent. And probably, if you're a bit more prepared than I am, you'll work out a lovely little ratio of how much wheat gluten to put in. But like I say, I do it by eye, it works for me. But yeah, that's what I do. Just don't go mad with it, would be my advice. Put just enough in that it holds your paste together like that, just enough, and that'll cling around your hook much better. You can mix it super wet like this one, and it'll still cling around your hook. So that's it, top secret paste recipe. Nothing that secret about it really, is there? But there's bits here that really make a difference. So thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll come back another time to show you how to use it.